Hey guys, this is Ray from Time Flies Hobbytown here in Scranton, Pennsylvania. How you doing? Today we're going to do a video. We normally do our review videos. We're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to do kind of a beginner introductory into FPV. Talk about a couple of different products. The main goal of this video is to kind of help walk you through getting into FPV. And FPV, for those of you who don't know, stands for first person view. So that's when you're actually flying from the vehicle, you're actually seeing what it sees, whether it be a quadcopter, airplane, helicopter, or even a car or a truck on the ground. So again, we're going to go through pieces like your source, like your camera, how you get that signal from the camera to your quad using a video transmitter, how you receive that using a video receiver, and then how you actually view that, whether it be a set of goggles or a screen or anything like that. And the nice thing about FPV is a lot of people come in the shop and they go, oh my god, FPV is so much to get into, because they see some of the price points of goggles and screens and different things that are out there. Depending on how much you do your research and really get into it and prepare for it, you can usually get into a beginner set of FPV for relatively inexpensive, and we're going to kind of explain a couple of those things. So all right, so first off, we're going to start with kind of our source. All right, guys, for sources, this is really going to depend on kind of what you want to put your FPV on. So you can start out with something, you can do a real small, like a micro camera, you can do a board camera, and some people will even go as far as larger, flying wings or planes or quads. They'll do GoPros. So these are some examples of some of the cameras that you see. This is a micro camera. This is available from FlySight. So this is nice if you want to put a high quality camera on something really small, really light. Something that's not going to carry a lot of weight, but you still want to be able to have that option. So basically, you've got 3 wires with any one of these cameras. You've got a power, a ground, and then a source. So, but this is one example. Probably most common that you're going to see is these board cameras. Now they come either in a case or without a case, and they'll have lenses that are removable that you can actually change out the lens to different fields of view. And these are probably the most common ones that you'll see on most setups, whether it be planes or quads. They're nice, they're small, they're durable, and typically in most cases they're fairly inexpensive too. So in the case of like the 250 racing quads and stuff like that, if you happen to smash your camera, it's not the end of the world. So the other source that you'll see a lot of is you'll see the GoPros. So the GoPros actually have the ability to do a video out, and you can actually charge them if you put 5 volts into them. You can actually keep the battery charged off of your main flight battery. So again, this is another option that's very popular. You get high definition, anywhere up to 4K resolution, video recording. But you are limited to your video transmission, so keep that in mind. So, the quality that you're going to get, that you're going to actually see on the ground is typically going to be about the same from camera to camera. The big thing to look at for cameras is, depending on how you're flying, where you're flying, is look at things like the gains and how it adjusts, like white balance and light. So whether you're flying away from the sun or if you fly back into the sun, sometimes it's worth spending an extra $10 on a camera that has a little bit better adjustment, and it can actually either adjust faster or adjust better, so you can actually see. So, all right, now that we've kind of gone over your source, let's talk about how you get your source to your ground. All right, guys. Now here's for video transmitters. So what your camera captures, you need to get back to the ground. So when you're flying radio control, you have your transmitter, your controller, that sends a signal from the controller up to your airplane or quadcopter. Now we need to actually take a video signal and we have to get that back. So we actually have to do video transmission in the opposite direction. To do that, what we do is we'll actually have, again, our camera, and we'll use a device like one of these. These are probably the 2 most popular ones that we sell, is the Immersion 600 milliwatt and then the Bosch Cam TS 832 600 milliwatt. Both great units, but there's a lot of other ones that are out there that are available too that are good. One thing to kind of keep in mind is also what voltage your camera is going to use. Many cameras on the market are 12 volts, and there are a lot that are also 5 volts. So keep that in mind when you're either pairing your system up or how you're going to actually have to power it. In some cases, whereas like the TS832, this will actually output 12 volts to the camera. So if you're using a 12 volt camera, this is perfect. Whereas the Immersion has an option to do 5 volts. Now, again, you want to make sure that you're pairing up the right systems. You're not plugging in the right plugs because you could fry those. One other thing I do want to mention, guys, is make sure that you do follow all the rules and regulations of the FCC when it comes to video transmission. There are a lot of laws that do dictate, what milliwatts that you can output. So you make sure that you want to go on, do some reading, do some research. As I understand it, I believe that 25 milliwatts output is the highest that you can do in the United States without a ham license. So again, we want to remind our viewers and our public to make sure that they are following all the rules and laws and regulations out there. So, all right, guys, the last part of FPV is how you're going to see your signal. So you can do that a couple of different ways. The biggest thing is now we've transmitted the video out. Now we have to actually be able to pick that video back up. So on the ground, you have several different options. So you can either do a LCD screen, which is very popular. You could do a set of immersion goggles where you actually immerse yourself. So you have lots of brands and manufacturers out there that can provide that. And the biggest thing is now when you do decide to do that, whether you're going to go with something that has an internal or an external receiver. So two of the products that we carry here at Time Flies that are very popular is we carry the Black Pearl fly sight screen, which has a built-in 5.8 gig receiver, 32 channel, and built-in battery. This is nice because everything is all together in this one little small package. You can actually, it has a tripod mount on the bottom, so you can mount this up on a tripod, or there's some aftermarket mounts that you can put on your controller, and you can actually watch and see as you fly. Me personally, I like to, if I'm going to use a screen, I like the idea of mounting this up on a tripod at about eye level, so that way I can actually see, what I'm flying, and I'm very comfortable. I don't have the extra weight of the screen sitting on the transmitter. What that also allows you to do is when you're flying line of sight and FPV together, it's easy to transition from one to the other using your peripheral vision. So that's one thing that I do suggest for everybody is I do like the idea of having the compact with the screen on the transmitter is nice, but you can go down to your any superstore and you can pick up a tripod for $20 that you can mount this on, and it's going to make your experience, in my opinion, a lot better. Another option that you have is FPV goggles. So these are mine. I fly with a set of Sky Zones. I really like these. They're dual diversity, so that means that they actually have 2 receivers built into it, so I can run 2 different antenna types. We're going to talk about antennas in a little bit too. Now this allows you to actually, you put the goggles on, it blocks out all the light and you can really focus on flying. Now if you do fly with goggles, I do highly recommend that you do fly with a spotter. So that allows, for some reason, if you do lose your video signal, and you have a spotter, they can help assist you, or you can even hand over the transmitter to them to get your model back. So it's really hard to transition from having goggles on to taking goggles off, especially like me. I have glasses, so I have corrective lenses in these so that I can see, but for me to take my goggles off, get my glasses on, and then try to find my model, in that amount of time, I've lost it and who knows where it went. So, all right. The last option is to actually kind of build your own setup. So there's a lot of FPV 5.8 receivers available on the market. This matches up with that Bosch cam that I was talking about before. This is the 832 channel video receiver, and it comes with video outs. It comes with 2 video outputs, DC power in, and what you do is you can plug this into any video source, any screen, any size, anything that you want. So these are nice. Again, they're light, they're compact, they're small, and you can actually build a very inexpensive setup for FPV with actual external receiver, because then you can pick and choose what you're going to input your signal into. For example, This is an inexpensive LCD screen that we sell here in the store. These are also readily available online. What you do is you get this. This is actually designed for a backseat of a car. So it's a 7-inch LCD screen. We normally sell these for, in and around about $50. So between this and this, you now have your FPV ground station that you can put together. So now doing it this way will require a little bit more work on your part. You'll have to check the wires, you'll have to find out exactly how to power it and things like that. So it is a little bit more work, but it is a lot less expensive. So if you're looking to get into FPV inexpensive, this is definitely something to consider. So last part that we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about antennas. All right, guys, as for antennas are probably the most important part of your FPV setup. I highly recommend that you make sure that you get a good antenna for your setup. So what that entails is, this is what we commonly call a whip antenna that comes with the transmitters and receivers. The best route that I can recommend is to go with a set of like helical style, these. Underneath this little case, there's a little clover leaf. You'll probably see them all over online. There's a couple of really good ones out there. There's the Immersion Spironets. FlySight has their helicals, and also there's a company called Video Aerial Systems, commonly known as IB Crazy online. He makes some of the best antennas in the U.S. What these do is these are going to strengthen your signal, extend your range, and you can actually work with lower milliwatts and keep yourself within the area of not having to get a ham license, and you'll still get excellent range. There's been reports of people doing 25 milliwatts with the right antenna setup. They're getting a half mile plus. So in most cases, you're typically not going to be flying that far anyways. Another option for an antenna is a patch style. I have this one in the package, but this is a flat panel. This is a long range antenna. It's flat, but it's directional. So the signal only is going to pick out in front of you, whereas a helical is omnidirectional. So it's all around you. So if you're flying from side to side, forward and backward. There's also the option for the helical style. Now this is a helical. This is more of like the Canon style that you can see here. Again, this is a longer range antenna, and it's not omnidirectional, but the field of view for this is about 90 degrees. So, all right, we're going to give you some close-up shots, and we'll talk a little bit more about the product. So, what we're going to talk about real quick is just kind of overall application. So this is actually mine. This is a 250 racing quad. This is a clone of the QAV 250. It's a pretty standard setup on this. I've got a couple of customized 3D printed parts on it to help either mount, like I have arms here or bumpers here to mount LEDs. Also help protect the carbon fiber arms in a crash, and little side panels here to kind of make everything look nice, neat, and clean. So one of the things when you're setting up your FPV, or when you're thinking about setting up your FPV, is also consider your application. So in the case of like a mini quad like this, typically when you're going to be flying this, you're going to be flying this at an angle pitched. So one of the things I did was I actually pitched my camera forward up at about 10 degrees, and that allows me to do forward flight, and I actually still get a nice clear view with my goggles as I'm flying. So again, these are all things to take into consideration. One thing I want to actually just go back to real quick, I forgot to mention while we were talking about antennas and video transmitters, is you always want to make sure that no matter what, when you power on a video transmitter, even if you're just testing it or setting up your equipment, you always want to have an antenna connected. If you don't do that, pretty much you can guarantee that you're going to burn out your video transmitter. So just a little warning for you guys, even if it's just one of the little basic whips, that's why I always keep these around and I never throw them away, is I will always keep a whip screwed into my video transmitter, even when I'm storing it, so that way I don't accidentally go ahead and fry my video transmitter. So, but again guys, this is a pretty basic setup. So I have a CCD board camera set up on the front. I have that go through to my video transmitter. I use a FlySight 250 milliwatt in the back, and then I use a FlySight cloverleaf antenna. So, and I secure that. The other thing that you want to keep in mind too is when you're doing FPV is you want to try to keep your radio systems as far apart as possible. So that's why a lot of people ask me why I keep my video all the way in the back, and then I'll actually keep under here. I have my my Spectrum. I fly with Spectrum. I keep my Spectrum receiver up here in the very front. You know, you don't have a lot of real estate on this quad, so you still want to keep them again as far apart, so that way they don't interfere. Because you're flying with 2.4, and in my case, I'm flying. My FPV is 5.8. So it's the last thing I want to touch upon too. When you're actually getting into this, you know, think about what kind of signal you want to use. FPV is available in a multitude of different options for video transmission signals. You have 5.8, 2.4. 1.2, 1.3, 900 megahertz, and so on and so forth. So the most common and the most readily accessible is the 5.8. The 5.8 is going to have the smallest antennas available. It's also going to have the least amount of range, but again, in most cases when you're flying FPV, you're not really flying far away. And when you pair up a decent transmitter with a great antenna, you'll get all the range that you're looking for. Alright guys, well, thank you so much for checking out our video. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us at sales@timeflieshobbytown.com. Check out our website, timeflieshobbytown.com, and please check out our Facebook, like us on Facebook, so we can keep bringing you all these great, review videos and how-tos.